They just said they're going to have a, hi everybody. They just said they're going to have a trial for something for Eitan Pates. Remember that little boy that Judd Hirsch made that movie about? It's based on that. Okay. Excellent connection. All right. Let me get up Casey Anthony, Cindy Anthony's part 2 of the deposition. Part 2. Okay, this happened July 29th, 2009. Continued deposition of Cynthia Marie Anthony. All right. So, she's sworn in. Mrs. Burdick is there again. They go through their formalities. They ask her if she's under the influence of alcohol or any drugs. No, 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 no. All right. Like I asked you yesterday, do you feel that your prescription medication is affecting your ability? No. Okay. Yada, yada, yada. All that crap. And they tell her that it's being recorded and all that good stuff. All right. Yesterday, this is Mrs. Burdick now, and asking some of the questions about the cell phones. You indicated that sometime last summer, Lee had purchased through AT&T what you were referring to as your bat phones. And Cindy says yes. And Ms. Burdick says disposable phones that you could talk to each other because there was some concern that your phones were being tapped. Cell phones are cell phones, Cindy said. All right. And then Ms. Burdick said, now you had Lee's bat phone number, and she goes over the number. Do you remember yours? Cindy says no. Last night, did you have an opportunity to try to look for any of that? No, she said the phone is not charged. Too bad. Then she says, you said Casey had a bat phone. Cindy says yes. Do you recall that number? Ms. Burdick, yes. She says no. I don't remember phone numbers, Cindy says. Sorry. Okay. Is the same true of George? Yes. I had asked you, I believe, if Dominic Casey had a bat phone. Cindy says correct. You said no. She said that's correct. Did you? Let's see. Did you know him to have more than one cell phone? I believe he did. All right. Did you call him on more than one cell phone? Yes. Do you have those numbers? She said, I think I have one cell phone for him because, again, my phone died on Monday and we could only retrieve what was saved to my SIM card, and not all the numbers were on my SIM card. Okay, what number do you have for him currently? She gives a number. Do you believe that to be a recent number? She says that's the original number. Do you believe that you called him on other phones that he may have possessed? Yes, she says, I may have. I think I had an office number, which this may be. I'm not sure if this is mobile or not. Like I just took this number from George's cell phone, but he had two cell phones, but I can't tell you which is which because I don't have a card with me. I don't have a card at home. Had I known you were going to ask that. Sure, says Miss Burdick. Cindy says, I could have brought that with me today. Okay, do you know if he used disposable cell phones? Cindy said, I never saw one. Okay, we talked a little bit about your computers. We spent most of the time talking about your home computer, the desktop. But you mentioned you have a laptop. Cindy says, correct. Miss Burdick says, is this different than the laptop that your daughter Casey used? Cindy says, no, it's the same. Back in 2008, the early part of 2008, did you allow her to have that all the time? No, she just used it when she needed it, Cindy said. I mean, I didn't give it to her to use all the time, but she had access to it whenever she needed it. Okay, did she have it between June 16th and July 15th? Yes. When did you get it back? Hold on. And there was an interruption. We're back on the record. I believe we're talking about the laptop. Can you re-ask the question? Cindy says, sure. The laptop that you had referenced yesterday as being one of the computers that you had access to in 2008 was one you let Caylee use when she told you she needed it, correct? Correct, says Cindy. Ms. Burdick says, okay, from June 15th of last year until June 16th or July 15th, the laptop was in Caylee's possession. Cindy says, I'm not sure of the date when she took possession, but, okay, said Ms. Burdick. Cindy says, it wasn't when we picked it up or my son picked it up from Tony Lazzaro's home. It was sometime after midnight on the 15th, so it was the 16th in the morning. July 16th? Cindy says July 16th when I received it. I realized it was my laptop, so I don't know what dates. She could have come back and got it at any time. I don't know. I don't use that every day. Where do you keep it? In my bedroom, Cindy says. Okay, Ms. Burdick says, I think you said that. Was there a certain place that you always had it? Was it sitting out? It's usually out, Cindy says, but I know that I had laid some things on top of it, some clothes I needed to sew. Right. So Sydney says, so I actually couldn't see it, and it was something, if I used it every day, I didn't look for it. If I didn't use it every day, I wouldn't look for it. Ms. Burdick says, all right, so at some point in time during that month, did you realize that it was gone? She says, I didn't realize it was gone until the 16th, until you got it back. Right. Okay. Prior to Caylee being away from the home in June of last year, did you know anyone else who had a missing child? No, Cindy said. I didn't know anybody personally. No. All right. Would you associate, I'm using the word because I can't find another at this point, with the subject have been exclusively through just what you might have seen on the news, other cases of missing children, things like that? Cindy says you rarely, where has she been? You rarely hear of missing children on the local news. I mean, once in a while you hear a big story. I remember the Trenton Duckett story briefly. It didn't last long in the news. Right, and I remember Elizabeth Spard, and that's pretty much all I remember prior to Caylee. All right, did you take interest in any of those cases other than a passing one? Cindy says, not until this. Not until Caylee's disappearance. All right, would you have participated in any sort of missing children's organization? Again, it's something that you don't think about typically. It didn't touch me like it. You know? Does now? Does now, says Cindy. Okay, said Miss Burdick. Would you have been researching on your computer for missing children's organizations or anything associated with that subject? No, I wouldn't have. Okay, do you know who did? Cindy says, I have no idea. Can I clarify? Certainly, said Miss Burdick. She says, prior to July 15th, says Mrs. Burdick. 15th. I did not look up missing children. Okay, all right, says Miss Burdick. At the end of the day, yesterday, I had begun to discuss the transcripts that had been generated by law enforcement as a result of their contact with you at various points over the past year, a little over a year. Those were copied and given to Mr. Conway last Friday, and it looks like, I don't know if you brought them or he brought them yesterday, but you had them in front of you. Correct, says Cindy. Ms. Burdick said, at this point, we also have talked yesterday about your opportunity to review the amount of discovery that has been produced in this case so far. Did you ever review your own statement online? No, I have not, says Cindy. Okay, in front of you now, that stack is 5 inches thick. Wow. 6 inches, do you think? Cindy said, no, I think it's more like 4. All right, the discovery contains what I would refer to as a timeline of events that you gave to the police. Do you recall speaking to them about a timeline? Yes. All right. Did you all use that term, timeline, whenever they were discussing things with you, like we want to build a timeline so that we can, try to backtrack or go over things? Cindy says, at that time, I think the only thing we really discussed the timeline was Eric Edwards. And I think that was the 1st of August, sometime there. Ms. Burdick says, all right, according to my information, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You did meet with the sheriff's office on August 1st and August 4th, all right? Cindy says she believes that's correct. Okay. Now I'm going to kind of skim through here because this is 500 pages. And I think we want to get to the let's see here. Okay, here she's talking about the chlorophyll. This is going to be an exhibit. She says, okay, all right, this is also going to be an exhibit marked 1. I imagine that we're going to have a different transcript for 2 different dates. So she says, let me see. Hold on, where's a couple of statements? Hold on, this is all like. And you know what, tomorrow I also have to talk to you about that Murdoch book that I've been reading. That's written by Blanca. Maybe I'll do a members live on that tomorrow. I have to do like 6 members lives before December 12th. Okay. Okay, here we go. So here's a question from Mrs. Burdick. Do you remember the chronology that you gave law enforcement as having occurred between June 15th and July 15th? I remember some of the incidences, Cindy says. Ms. Burdick says, all right, starting with June 16th of 2008, tell me what contact you have with Casey. And Cindy says, I think we played phone tag. I believe she called me on my cell on June 16th. On June 16th, says Ms. Burdick. And Cindy says, Ms. Burdick says, for what purpose did she call you? And Cindy said, or did you call her? Did she call you? I'm sorry. Just to check in and let me know that she said that she and Caylee were going to stay at Zanny's house. Crash at Zanny's is what she said. Why? Said Miss Burdick. And Cindy said because she was tired. She had to work late and she had to get up early the next morning and go back to work the next morning. And she thought it would be better for Caylee instead of having to drag her back out late at night and then early in the morning. Miss Burdick said at that point, how far did you believe this Zanny to have lived from you? Not that far, says Cindy. I thought she lived somewhere off Conway, Michigan area, somewhere in there. How far from your residence, approximately, said Miss Burdick. Cindy said it would depend on traffic. Mile-wise? Mileage, says Miss Burdick. I really don't know. I can't judge miles. She doesn't know phone numbers and she can't judge miles. Probably within 10 miles. So you believe you had a phone conversation, Miss Burdick says? Yes, says Cindy. Have you reviewed Casey's cell phone records? No. From that time period? She says, not since last fall. Have you reviewed yours? Not since last fall, says Cindy. Do you recall seeing that contact on the records, a June 16th contact? Cindy says, I believe it was sometime in the afternoon, by the time I was leaving work, sometime around 6, 5:30 to 6. That's my usual time that I would speak with her. Ms. Burdick says, how many times do you believe that you talked to Casey on June 16th of 2008? Cindy says, I can't remember more than once. I could have talked to her twice, maybe, but which wouldn't have been unusual. She may have called me at work. Okay, said Miss Burdick. But Cindy said, but that wouldn't be on my cell phone. All right, do you believe that her calls to you were late evening, early evening, late afternoon, early afternoon? Cindy says again, I believe it was sometime between 5:30 and 6 o'clock, my normal time when I would leave work. Okay, so whenever you want to call that, early evening, late after, well, this is Cindy now. Oh my gosh, this is, afternoon to me is until 4 o'clock. Okay. Cindy says it was 4 to 5, but they weren't late night calls. Okay, and then Ms. Burdick says, so she said to you, like, Caylee is with Zanny, we're just going to crash here? No, says Cindy. It was like she already knew her schedule, okay? Ms. Burdick said, do you believe that your husband George had any phone contact with Casey on June 16th? Cindy says, usually he checked in with her in the afternoon. He'd usually leave for work sometime between 1 and 2, and then he'd usually check with her. A couple of hours later, he usually would call her. So I imagine he, tried to call her, didn't get through, tried to call her at one point in the day. We always try to contact each other at least once through the day. All right, said Miss Burdick. Today, do you have any knowledge as to whether or not they had phone contact on June 16th? I know you're telling me what your typical pattern was. Right. I can't tell you for sure if they did or not. Okay. The same question as it relates to Lee. Do you believe that Lee and Casey spoke on the phone at any point during June 16th? Cindy says, I have no idea. Ms. Burdick said, have you spoken with anyone that had phone contact with Casey on June 16th? Cindy says, I believe Jesse Grund said he had a call or two from Casey that day. Okay, I'm going to keep going over here because there she's going to go on. They talked about Juliet Lewis, who's not a real person. But I want to get to the crux of things here. Oh. You did tell the police, this is Mrs. Burdick, you did tell the police that Casey told you after the accident. Remember she said that Casey had that accident with Zanny and everybody, that after this accident that Zanny ended up with a 2008 silver Ford Focus. Correct, says Cindy. Okay, so that would not have been a vehicle registered to the Zanny person? Cindy says, I believe what Casey told me is that her stepfather, whose, said Miss Burdick, had bought Zanny a new car, and after she had totaled her car in the accident, that she got this silver Ford Focus. So Miss Burdick says, okay, as a vehicle that she owned, not a rental? I have no idea, says Cindy. Okay. She just said her stepdad was helping her get a new car, so I'm not sure if it was in his name or hers or whatever. It's your understanding that Zanny, after this accident, spent some time at Tampa General Hospital? I believe it was Tampa. Hold on, I just want to make sure of something here. You guys are there. Hi, Bank. It's your nails. What happened? Hi, Megan Els. What happened to your nails? You got your nails? Hi, Tilly Bird. Hi, Twisted. Hi, Super Chat. Hi, Slam. Video. How's everybody doing? Can you hold on for 1 second so I can just hold on a minute? Talk amongst yourselves. You got your nails done? I just want to order my vitamins real fast because if I don't order my vitamins, I'm going to forget. And then that's not going to be good. It'll take me 1 second. 1 second. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. It's one click. One click. Should have them right here. Vitamin vitamins. Vitamin vitamins. Usually they have them right here. What is up for this? Where are my vitamins? Here they are. Come on. Yep. View cart. Let me check out. All right, check out. Do I have everything right? Oh, thank you. Get me to the register, please. Okay. All right, they're ordered. Okay, I'm sorry. Now I can feel better. Beautiful. Okay. So let me go back to you guys. I mean, back to the thing. I'm sorry. All right, so let's see. Let's go back through what they're asking her. They're asking her, did that she text message? It's all about this Zanny, right? Did Casey tell you how she was able to access Zanny's apartment? You know, Cindy's kind of like just clueless, and it just goes on this crazy crap. Did George call to tell you about the shed break-in? Okay, so here's the shed break-in, right? Let's see what they say about the shed break-in. About the gas can was missing. And how did George find out? So Cindy says, I believe he went to the shed either to mow the grass or just go in and get something from the shed. Miss Burdick says, okay, how do you secure the sheds? How did you at that time secure the sheds? Cindy said, the only shed that we had locked at that time was that particular, we have 3 sheds. And Cindy said, was this particular shed had a lock on it. The other sheds, we just had bicycles, odds and ends, things, tires, you know, pool supplies, things like that. So he had a lock on that shed. A combination lock, a key lock? No, said Cindy, a key lock. Like a master lock, said Miss Burdick. Yes, something like that, says Cindy. Okay, how did Casey break into that? I have no idea, says Cindy. My understanding is that from what I heard after the fact was that Tony broke the lock. He broke the lock. He broke into it. Using what? I have no idea, says Cindy. Okay. Cindy says, we do have some pavers next to, you know, little teeny 4x4-inch pavers and a few bricks that we had left over when we did the front and back of our patio. We had some sitting beside the shed, so we could have used something like that. I'm not sure. Did you see the broken lock? No, I did not, says Cindy. I saw the, the place where the lock goes through. You know, a shed has a piece that comes out, and then there's a place that you put. What actually broke was the lock inside the shed. I'm not sure if it was the actual lock itself that broke. Okay, Cindy says, but I know that George had to replace the inside lock on the shed where you latch it because it's just fiberglass. It's a fiberglass shed. Okay, to Mrs. Burdick. If you wanted to get into that shed, how would you have done it? I would have used a key, says Cindy. Where was that? Oh, George keeps them in his toolbox in the garage. Did George tell you about the shed break-in prior to you finding Casey was in Orlando that day? Yes, says Cindy, I believe so. George told me about the break-in before I had found out about Casey. Did you suspect that Casey did it? No, says Cindy, not what George told me. Okay, did George suspect Casey had something to do with that? Cindy says, I don't believe so, or he wouldn't have called the sheriff's department. Okay. Caylee admitted to you on June 24th that it was her that broke in. When the day I told her about the gas can that Dad had reported to the sheriff's department that the shed had been broken into and the gas can was stolen, she said, "Mom, I took the gas can." Do you believe that she admitted that to you before or after her contact with George that day? Cindy says, "I believe it was before her contact with George." Okay, do you believe that she stole the gas can that day and then returned later with an empty gas can? Cindy says, "I'm not sure if it was that day or what day, but I know that's the day, you know? I know that's when George found it that day. I'm not sure if that's the same day or not. I believe it to be when she borrowed the cans. I'm not sure. Now she borrowed them." Miss Burdick said, "You used the word borrow. Do you know if she had your husband's or your permission to go into the shed and take the gas?" "She didn't need permission," said Cindy. "I mean, Lee doesn't need permission to go into the shed. Caylee doesn't need permission to go into the shed. And I don't need permission to go into the shed. So if, Lee could borrow the gas and the lawnmower to do his lawn at his previous residence. So Ms. Burdick said, would he normally alert you all to the fact that?" "Not necessarily," says Cindy. "He was going to do that," said Miss Burdick. "Not necessarily," says Cindy. Okay. Once the culprit was identified by you and your husband, did you or he call the sheriff's office back and say, "All right, you can cease your investigation into the stolen gas cans because our daughter borrowed them"? Cindy said there was no need to because the deputy said it was less than $100 and there would be no investigation and they're not going to pursue it. So there's no reason to call them back to tell them to stop it. "All right, so that's a no," said Miss Burdick. "That's correct," says Cindy. "Okay, where do you believe Caylee to go after she had contact with your husband at the residence?" "Back to Tampa," says Cindy. "For how long?" "I believe until Friday of that week," says Cindy. "Did you have contact with her on the phone every day?" "Every day?" Cindy says, "Yes, I believe." "Other day?" "Every day," says Cindy. "Okay, what were you saying to her?" Cindy says, "I was concerned about Zanny. I was missing Caylee, but she assured me Caylee was with Annabelle and Juliet." "You trusted her at that point?" "I trusted her," said Cindy. "I had no reason not to." "Did you have any concern at that point that she was lying to you regarding her whereabouts?" "No, not at that time," says Cindy. "When did you believe she returned to Orlando?" Cindy said, "I was under the impression she returned Friday of that week." "The 27th? Probably," says Cindy. Okay, let's keep going. City Walk. Okay, she was talking about Universal, that she never had a job there. I want to get to where, because by this time they've found Caylee. Okay, here's something. Okay. Okay. Let's go. Okay. Hold on a second. On July 3rd, this is Miss Burdick, you believe that Caylee was deliberately keeping Caylee from you. Cindy says, well, if she was in town during that time, possibly in town, then she had to be deliberately keeping her from me. Why would you believe that? Said Mrs. Burdick. Cindy says, I don't know. That's why I said I don't know why. Okay. All I am guilty of is loving her and providing her a safe home. Okay, you used the word guilty. Was there some suggestion that somebody felt that you felt somebody was thinking you were guilty of something else? No, says Cindy. Miss Burdick says, why did you choose those words? Cindy says, I don't know. I seriously don't know. All right, said Miss Burdick. Then Cindy says, it's just an unconditional thing a mom does. All you do is just do what you do. So then Miss Burdick said, had Casey accused you of something? No, says Cindy. Suggesting that you had some culpability or guilt? No. Nothing? No, she hasn't, says Cindy. To this day, she hasn't. Okay, and then Miss Burdick says, and then you wrote, jealousy has taken her away. And Cindy says, you start thinking of things. And I didn't know if Casey was jealous of the fact that I was off that week and I was going to spend time with her, because the week in June that I had taken off was over my birthday. And Caylee and I spent the entire time together that week. It was, pretty much her and I bonding, having, fun. Why would that make Casey jealous, said Miss Burdick. Cindy says, because in my mind, it was because she was working and not being able to spend time with her. So that's my perspective, and that's why she said she wanted me to have time to rebond with Casey. To Caylee during this week, that she was not going to be working and she'd actually have those days to spend with her. But I was kind of jealous of Casey too, because I figured the three of us could do something together. We usually did. Okay, said Miss Burdick, then you wrote jealousy from the one person that should be thankful for all of the love and support given to her. Who are you referring to? Cindy says Casey. Okay, so you're speaking to Casey in this? Correct, says Cindy. Basically saying, and Cindy says, hey, what's up? You're jealous of? Yeah. Why can't I spend time with you? I would have gone to Jacksonville. I would have gone wherever. If I would have been off when she would have been in Tampa, I would have gone there, but I had to work. So this week I was off and I felt that I didn't have my girls. Okay, but instead of saying that directly, you decided to go to say it indirectly? Again, when we write, says Cindy, accusing Casey of being jealous? Yeah, says Cindy, and when we write, we write your deepest feelings. You write in a way that is going to grab the other person's attention. Okay, said Miss Burdick, you wrote a mother's love is deep. Are you referring to you? To both of ours, says Cindy. However, Miss Burdick said, there are limits when one is betrayed by the one she loved and trusted the most. Okay, who is that you're referring to as having been betrayed? And Cindy says, I felt like Casey had betrayed me by not confiding in me where she was and why she had to tell me she was at Universal that day again. That was the day that I was upset that I drove there and she wasn't there. And then I found out later on that she was supposed to be in Jacksonville. All right, so you're using an emotionally charged word like betrayed for what had occurred on July 3rd? Cindy says, well, she lied to me. That's a betrayal. It's a form of betrayal. Okay, said Miss Burdick. So, I don't like people lying to me. Me either, said Miss Burdick. So, said Cindy, all right, said Miss Burdick. So you said there are limits when one is betrayed by the one she loved and trusted the most. Who are you referring to? Then they had a phone malfunction. Oh my gosh. Okay, and then let's see. Miss Burdick said, all right, a daughter comes to her mother for support when she is pregnant. You're specifically speaking of Casey coming to you. Correct, says Cindy. When she was pregnant, and you then, a mother says without hesitation, it will be okay. You're referring to her pregnancy? Correct, says Cindy. And that everything was okay, and it was. Correct, says Cindy. And then you wrote, but then the lies and betrayal began. Are you talking about from the time of the pregnancy, the lies and betrayal began? Cindy said, well, we spoke yesterday about it in the last year. Prior to Caylee's disappearance, Cindy said that Casey was starting to tell more half-truths. Right, says Miss Burdick, or partial lies. Part of it was true, but part of it was false. So over the last year. Miss Burdick said, and I believe that you said yesterday that you were uncertain why she began to do that. To this day, I'm still uncertain, says Cindy. And then that's why she started to take money. Okay. So that's what I was referring to, says Cindy. Okay, the lies, Cindy says, just trying to figure out where her head was at that point. All right, said Miss Burdick, so that's just saying the lies and betrayal began? Correct, says Cindy. First it seemed harmless. Correct, I mean white, half-truth, what teenager? Okay, young adult doesn't do half-truth, says Cindy. Okay, and then you went, Love is Blind. Are you referring to yours? Yes, says Cindy. Your love for your child? Yes, says Cindy. That's pretty much Love is Blind in my marriage and with Casey at this point. That's what I was referring to. Okay, a mother will look for the good in her child. You're referring to yourself looking for the positives in Casey? Correct, says Cindy. Okay. And give them a chance to change? Correct, says Cindy. Again, you're referring to you giving Casey a chance. And Cindy says a chance to, like to make up for what she took, money, like giving her that opportunity to make good. I mean, it's difficult to be a young adult, and I know you can make mistakes, and parents should give their children opportunities to second or third or even absolutely, says Cindy. Fourth chances, says Miss Burdick. Absolutely. You never want to give up on your child. Okay. At least I would never give up on any of my children, says Cindy. All right. This mother gave chance after chance for her daughter to change, but instead more lies and betrayals. So that's you referring to the last few days, says Cindy. The last few days, not the past year, says Miss Burdick. Cindy says, pretty much pinpointing it's down to this event of that day. I mean, that's what over the last year, but to this point. Okay, what does the mother get for giving her daughter all these chances that you're referring to? As the mother, Casey as daughter? Correct, says Cindy. A broken heart? Correct, says Cindy. I mean, I felt like Casey was my best friend, my confidant, and then I found out she'd been lying to me about where she's at. And I didn't understand it because this wasn't Casey. We talked about everything. Okay, and then you go into some specifics. A daughter who stole money. Says Cindy. Lots of money. Says Cindy. Like we talked about yesterday. Correct, says Cindy. Leaves without warning. I mean, leaves when? Cindy says that week without warning. I mean, she had told me in advance the other days, but she didn't tell me that day, and I wouldn't have driven to Universal. So to me, it was like leaving out of town that day without giving me an opportunity to see her, to see Caylee, and that's what I was referring to that day. All right, and now let me see. I lost my place here and did not let her mother you, correct? Says Cindy. Now speak to the baby that you're referring to, Caylee, correct? That's a yes? Yes. That her mother referring to you. Correct, says Cindy. Raised, fed, clothed, sheltered, paid her medical bills, etc. Correct, says Cindy. We discussed that. I figured I was 40% yesterday taking care of her, and I did say that I paid some of her medical bills, and I did provide, a place for her to live, and I bought most of the groceries. So instead, she tells her friends you're referring to Casey, telling her own friends, correct? That her mother, you, says Cindy, is controlling her, and Casey needs her space. Correct. Where'd you hear that? Cindy says, I remember one time she had said something to Annie, her friend Annie Downing. Downing? Yeah, like around Caylee's birthday. Second birthday? Cindy says second birthday, that I had taken it over. The party? Cindy says the party. But Casey was, visiting with all of her friends. We had like 30 people in the house. So it was kind of like when to do the cake and different things. Okay, to Miss Burdick. Well, that's almost more than a year prior. But when you start thinking about it, you're upset. You pull whatever. Had you heard that more recently from some of Casey's friends that she was accusing you of trying to control her life? No, says Cindy. Or being a controlling person? No, I hadn't really spoken to her friends. I hadn't spoken to Annie for quite some time, probably since 4 or 5 months, and really didn't speak with her that much until except around Caylee's birthday. Miss Burdick says, have you ever heard from some of the other sources that perhaps from Lee, who had talked to her friends, that Casey was accusing you of being controlling? I don't remember a conversation with Lee about that. Not specifically, says Cindy. Okay, says Miss Burdick. Did Casey, when you were speaking to her prior to July 3rd, I don't know if you had a tone on the phone with her, did she make any accusations? You need to leave me alone, give me my space, that type of stuff. Cindy says, well, when I was upset with her on the 3rd, she said something that she needed time to be with Caylee and to have some time to herself. We had talked, probably over the last few months prior to this, about her eventually getting an apartment. She had talked about getting one with Juliet and possibly Zanny, her imaginary friends. But I told Casey I thought she should have more of a, she should have more savings account. And I told her there's no reason to get herself financially out there. And I told her that it would be hard for her dad and I to help her with an apartment. Usually you have to have the first, couple of months rent. Right, said Miss Burdick. And then the last month and deposits and things like that. But we talked about it. She did speak about possibly moving in. So I don't know if this was that time that she was really thinking about doing that or so. Did you tell me yesterday that Caylee called you? Yes. There's been some suggestion that some of Casey's friends wanted Caylee to call you mommy. Yeah. Jesse Grund said that was one time within the first week of Caylee's birth, and Jesse was at the house pretty much every day after Caylee came home. That I don't know if you've ever had more than one child or not, but sometimes you slip. Sometimes I would start to call Casey Lee, and I went through this. With my mom, said Casey. I have 3 brothers, but I would be Rick, Dan, or Gary sometimes, and it's hard when you're holding a new baby. And I had never said grandma before, and one of the first times at my house, I think I said something like, let mommy pick you up. And I picked her up and I said that, and Casey heard me, and I said, oh, I mean grandma. I never wanted Caylee to call me grandma. I mean mama or mommy. I always wanted her to call me Grammy. In fact, we talked about it. Miss Burdick says, we who? And Cindy says, Casey and I, about what I was going to be called once, we found out about Caylee being pregnant. We were talking about, the names for Caylee, and she goes, what do you want to be called? Mom? And I said, well, not grandma right away. Okay. And then Cindy said, probably Grammy or something like that. And then Casey came up with Cece. Okay, all right. And then you wrote no money, no future. You're talking about Casey's present circumstances? Correct. Miss Burdick said, you believed her to have no money? Cindy said, well, I know she didn't have a lot saved up. I know she didn't have a bank account, so that's what I meant by no money. All right. And then you said no future. Well, said Cindy, she was working at Universal. I wanted her to go into photography, and that's what she wanted to do. So, and then you wrote, Where did she go? And you're referring to Caylee? To Casey, says Cindy. Where did Casey, go, says Mrs. Burdick. Yes, says Cindy. Okay, who is now watching out for the little angel? Caylee? Caylee, right, says Cindy. Why were you concerned about that? It wasn't me. It wasn't me tucking her in, making sure, everyone was okay, but I didn't need to be there. I mean, Casey was a great mom, but I just felt like one of my children was taken from me. Okay, said Mrs. Burdick, that's the one that's marked on the exhibit. Did you get okay, says Cindy, did you get a response to this? Nope, never. By any means, other means? Yeah, eventually Casey talked to me about it. She asked me why I had written on MySpace. And I told her that I was trying to figure out what was going on. And I was hoping that she would let me know, what was going on in her mind and why she couldn't come to me and tell me, face to face or talk to me. All right, said Mrs. Burdick, and still you don't remember what day you actually... No, I don't remember, says Cindy. Had that conversation? What day? I know it was a couple of days. Like I said, I checked my MySpace a couple of times, just, in the beginning, just to see if she would respond, and then she didn't. So, okay, said Miss Burdick. And Cindy says, I don't know if she had computer access or not, and at the time I didn't know, that my computer was missing. I didn't know if she had one. Did you exchange text messages after July 3rd before July 15th? Yes, I'm sure we did, says Cindy. Did they discuss? I don't think. To your recollection? Cindy says in the text, I'm not sure the text messages specifically. I know at some point we had some conversations about it, but I don't think it was done by text. I think it was talking on the phone. Did you continue to talk to her every day? Pretty much, says Cindy. After that, pretty much, says Cindy. Did you express that you expressed on your MySpace page to her continually from that point, July 3rd? Yes. Up until, yes, says Cindy. July 15th? Yes, says Cindy. How did you express that? Cindy says, I told her I wanted her to come home, and somewhere around the 4th or the 5th, she was going to come home. She was having problems with her gas gauge, and that's why she'd been borrowing gas cans. She had used the gas cans prior to June. She told you she was having problems with the gas gauge? Yes, says Cindy. And George and I had been wanting her to get her brakes done, everything, but we told her she needed to pay for all that stuff. We wanted to get the car tuned up. And I was concerned about her traveling, and I told her that I wanted her to make sure the car had the oil checked and everything, especially since I figured she was in Tampa and then in Jacksonville. And she told me on that weekend that Jeff had taken her car to the one friend's house, to the one of his friends in Jacksonville, says Miss Burdick, in Jacksonville. She wasn't sure when, and supposedly he was ordering a part for her gas tank, and the car wasn't ready for several days. Oh, so you're thinking she's stuck in Jacksonville? I thought she was stuck in Jacksonville, says Cindy. Okay, did she tell you that she returned at some point? Oh, gosh, says Cindy, I think somewhere around the 10th. Okay, let's keep going now. She's going to go on and on, this lady. I thought, let's see. Okay, here's Mrs. Burdick. Do you believe that she lied about who she was with during that time frame? More than likely, says Cindy. Okay, is there any person that she was with during that time frame that you, over the past year, were able to confirm either yourself or through the investigator you hired, or based on your contact with Mr. Baez, that there is somebody with her during that time frame where she told you was true? No, I have not confirmed, says Cindy. Have you tried? Yeah, we have. We're still looking for Zanny. All right. Are you still looking for Juliet Lewis and Annabelle? I know Dominic is looking. I'm not actively looking for her as much as we're looking for Zanny. All right. How about the person referred to as Jeffrey Hopkins that she was in Jacksonville with? Are you still looking? When I say you, I mean you or somebody working on your behalf for that person? Yes, Cindy said. To my knowledge, yes. All right. And his son, Zachary? Yes. Okay. How about you mentioned some other names in there? Jennifer? Jennifer, says Cindy. Farrell? Cindy says Jennifer Rosa and Raquel Farrell. Right. Have you been able to verify that these people exist? We're looking into it, says Cindy. We have tracked down a Jennifer Rosa, and we're currently looking into her right now. Where is she? Cindy said, when I say tracked down, we found a Jennifer Rosa in the dean's list. At Valencia College in 2000. I believe it was like 2003, and we're trying to find out, where she is, that particular Jennifer Rosa. All right, says Miss Burdick. So that's sort of, Cindy says that's within the last 2 weeks. A mixture of some of the names that you've gotten. It's Jennifer. Cindy says Jennifer Rosa and Raquel Farrell. Okay. We're supposed to be Zanny's roommate, says Cindy. All right, said Miss Burdick. So you think that there is a Jennifer Rosa that went to Valencia? Cindy says, when I pulled up the dean's list, there's a Jennifer Rosa on the dean's list for that. It's like 2003, 2004. Okay. Which would have been about the right time frame for her. In fact, I think I provided that information to you. Miss Burdick says, I think I remember reading that. Yes. Okay, says Cindy. The 15th of June that you said you were at the home where your father was, you went over to your mother's house. Caylee was with you. Casey was not. Correct. What time do you believe you arrived home finally that day? Cindy says somewhere between 4 and 5. Where was Casey that day? Supposed to be working. Have you found out where she actually was? No. Did she ever come home that day? Yes, she did. About what time? Oh, probably 7-ish, somewhere around there. 6:37. What time did she go to bed that evening? Oh man, we probably stayed up and watched Desperate Housewives together. I tucked the girls in and I stayed in Casey's room and I watched that with them. So maybe about 10? Now, Miss Burdick said earlier we talked about whether or not Caylee has a schedule. Did she have a bedtime? Yes, says Cindy. What was it? Caylee usually went down somewhere between 8:30 and 9:30. Okay. And Caylee would have been sleeping? What you doing? Casey would have been sleeping. Caylee would have been sleeping. But a lot of times I would join them because Caylee slept in Casey's bed. And we would just stay up and watch TV. And Caylee would be there sleeping and she'd be between us. All right. Did Caylee sleep with Casey a lot? Every night, says Cindy. Okay. She didn't sleep in her bed during the night, just during the day for a nap, but is usually in Casey's bed. So you specifically remember watching Desperate Housewives. I believe we did. On June 15th, said Miss Burdick. I believe we did. Okay, it's been suggested that you and Casey had a disagreement of some sort on June 15th of 2008. I'm not... Cindy says, I've heard that, but we did not have a disagreement on that day. In fact, it was a great day. Okay, did you talk to Casey that day about the money that she took from your mother? No, says Cindy. In fact, in the morning we had a brief conversation that I was just going to get up and take Caylee, and I think I left the house somewhere around 9:30. I took Caylee to see my dad. It's an hour's drive. And then when Casey got home that evening, Caylee and I were in the pool. And when Casey came outside, she asked if the water was warm and she was going to join us. And I told her it was getting kind of chilly. And I said, Caylee is getting kind of shivery. And I said, why don't you go get her bath ready? So Casey went back in, got Caylee's bath ready. She came out with a towel and took Caylee. And then I finished putting the pool stuff away and took the ladder off the pool and then went inside. And I think by that time, Caylee was in the tub with Casey. Okay, so then after that, Casey got something to eat. And then we sat and watched my dad's video and we cried. And I called it my dad's video because that was the whole purpose of him taking the camera that day, was to get my dad and Caylee together. But when we got there, he perked right up when he saw us. And from that point on, he continued to improve. How did you watch that? Did you have a plug into the television? Yeah, well, no, actually, to the computer, my desktop. Oh, to your desktop? Yeah, you plugged the camera that the sheriff's office could plug right into my desktop. Oh, okay. Did Casey take a copy or have a copy somehow from your camera and put it on the laptop to your knowledge? At some point she may have. I don't recall, says Cindy. I don't recall her doing it that night. I know she put it on the desktop at that point, but I'm not sure that she put it on the laptop. But I know the desktop while we were watching it. She was putting it on the desktop. Okay, all right. So with your testimony that there was no disagreement with Casey of any kind on June 15th of 2008. Nope. Yesterday we talked about whether or not you had been notified whether any of your property had been missing from the house prior to June 15th. And you said only the gas cans. Correct, says Cindy. Do you remember that we discussed that? Yes, says Cindy. Did you notice whether or not any of Caylee's items were missing from the house on June 16th of last year? At some point I realized Caylee's doll, she called her Mama, was not there. And then I noticed a week later after June 16th that Caylee's teddy was gone because I actually had Teddy with me a few nights because I missed Caylee so much. You could smell Caylee in the beginning, still a little bit on Teddy, so I would go in and hold Teddy. But I noticed like a week later or so that Teddy was gone, and Casey didn't tell me she picked up items for Caylee. All right, so you knew Casey to have been in the house? Yes. Herself? She told me then that she was in the house. She was stopping by specifically to get new underwear, bras, and some clothing in Caylee's Mama and Teddy. All right. Any other items of Caylee's missing? Any specific clothing you remember? Backpack, books, things like that? Her Dora Explorer backpack was missing, and which was a normal thing, though, when Casey would leave. I mean, that's what she'd pack diapers in. Miss Burdick said, "Is it a diaper bag?" Yeah, it was a diaper bag. And even though Caylee was pretty much potty trained, we still kept a pull-up because it would be easier for her. And then if she had an accident, I mean, she was, she slept in pull-ups? Yes, says Cindy. All the time? Absolutely. Even though she would go through the night most of the time without having a problem. Once in a while she would, something through the night. But she was getting up sometimes. But most of the time she'd hold it through the night. So, yeah, But I don't recall clothing. I know her blanket wasn't at the house, and I hadn't realized I hadn't seen the blanket for a couple of months. Really didn't think much of it. I just thought maybe it was put in one of the drawers. I really didn't look for it because it was just kind of warm then, and she really didn't need the blanket, so I wasn't looking for the blanket, but I realized later the blanket was gone. What kind of blanket are you talking about? Cindy says it's a Winnie the Pooh blanket. Any other bedding items? No, Cindy says, not that I can think of, was missing. All right, prior to July 15th of 2008, when was the last time that you yourself would have seen Casey's car, or you yourself, hold on a minute, or that you gave Casey's car, or the car that you all gave to Casey? Cindy says it would have been July. Excuse me. Prior to that, it would have been June 16th, the morning that I left for work. The car was, where was it, said Miss Burdick? In the driveway. Either in the driveway or on the street, says Cindy. Probably in the driveway. All right. Had you also heard Caylee and Casey in the room? The morning of the 16th? No, says Cindy. That morning I didn't. I actually left probably a half an hour or 45 minutes earlier than usual, and I didn't want to go in and disturb them. Some mornings I wasn't leaving until like 7:30. Caylee would already been up. Or I'd go in and kiss and goodbye because I figured she'd be up in Casey's room where I could hear the TV on and their door shut, and they must be in there talking or giggling or whatever. But that morning I didn't hear anything, so I didn't want to bother them because it was a little bit earlier, and I figured that extra half an hour or so, let them sleep. So I just left that morning, but the door was shut, so I didn't see them. So that's why I said I physically didn't see them, but I know they were home on the 16th. Okay, they were in Casey's room? Yes. To the best of your knowledge? Yes. Okay, all right. The last time you physically saw Casey's car prior to July 15th was June 16th of last year? When would have been the last time you were in it? Probably that weekend or something, I don't know. What weekend? Cindy says the weekend of the 14th or the 15th. I mean, a lot of times, I can't say if I was in it, but a lot of times I'd say things like, she had a pair of clothes, something in the back. Sometimes I'd take it out, wash it for her. A lot of times I'd help Casey put Caylee in or pick her up. For sure Friday, Friday the 13th? Yeah, probably picking Casey, probably dropping Caylee off at work. That was typical, the thing. So I would go to the car and get her. So, okay, somewhere in that time frame, within a few days. All right, said Mrs. Burdick. What would have been the last time you would have driven it? Oh, man, I haven't driven Casey's car for a while. I can't tell you the last time I drove her car. Okay, let's see if we go to where she hadn't been in the trunk. Let's see. Okay, she's talking about the car. Cindy says it's a white Pontiac because I used to see it and think it was Lee when he was driving the car. But this one, George had thought that there was a male with a ball cap driving Casey's car sometime between the 16th and the 27th. In fact, he called me on his way to work one day and he said he thought he had seen it somewhere on Narcossee because he was going to work that way. And it was right around the corner from us. In fact, that's where Johnson's towing is. And Cindy says, it's on that road, and I just kind of blew it off. And then I remember one night coming in from work, he told me he had seen the car again in that area, but I had not seen the car. Okay. Okay, here's Miss Burdick says, did you express concern as you did here on your MySpace page to anyone else on the MySpace? Cindy says, my mom, and I mean my mom knew that I hadn't seen Caylee for a while. Again, during that time I was visiting my mom and dad pretty much weekly, and my mom would ask. And when we talked regularly on the phone, she would ask me if I've seen Caylee, and I'd say no, and she'd say that I was missing Caylee a lot. Right. So, in fact, I saw my mom and dad in that time frame, probably the 5th, somewhere in that weekend, and we talked. And my mom actually said that she thought she received a phone call during that time and thought she heard Caylee's voice, but she wasn't sure. She said she heard a little one. But my mom is very hard of hearing. Even with her hearing aid, she typically can't hear. So that's just like what sounded like a child. She couldn't make it out. Had Casey called her, your mother? I don't know, and my mom doesn't have caller ID, and I have not checked my mom's phone records, but I did mention this to the sheriff's department, so hopefully they did check my mom's phone records. And Miss Burdick says, now I know you weren't working the week of the 30th. Did you return on June? Did you return to work on July 4th? Yes, that Monday. Did you express anything to your coworkers about No. You're not having seen Caylee? Yeah, I probably said that. I hadn't seen Caylee, says Cindy. What do you remember about your conversation? What do you recall about speaking with... Cindy said, I probably spoke with my scheduler, Charles Crittenden, and possibly Deb, but Deb sits right next to Charles. Deb who? Deborah Bennett. Okay. But she sits right next to Charles, so the office has cubbies. My office is down in front. Theirs is in the back of our complex. And if you sit down there, anybody can hear you if you have a conversation. There's just a petition, so And I'm not sure when I spoke to my supervisor about it, but at some point I spoke to Deborah Polisano about it. Polisano? Says Sydney. How do you spell that? She goes through all that. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we're on like 106. Let me see what's going on. I don't know why I feel really tired. Let's see, who else is here? Hey there. Thank you, Laura. Hi. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. So, I just want to tell you that I'm reading that book from that was written by Blanca, the Murdaugh's housekeeper. I was talking to Bink about it. So I've been reading that book, and I'm going to probably do a members live tomorrow, just giving my reaction to where I am in that book. I'm about halfway through. It's a really easy read. My time is like really, it's hard to find the time to do that, and hope that, hold on, let me just, while I said that, hold on a second, because I have to check the fireplace. Hold on a second. I want to make sure the fire's still going. Hang on, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. Hang on. I have to make sure the fire's still going. Hang on. I don't want the fire to go out. Oh no, did he let the fire go out? Oh, hold on a minute, guys. I'm coming. Okay. I rescued the fire. Hang on. Oh, brother. Oh, brother. I'm back. Hold on. What? Is that Mama Ramblings? No. It was Mr. Ramblings. This is the book I'm reading. Within the House of Murdoch by Blanca. So I'm going to do a members live reacting to what I've read so far. But I want to I just want to take a little time right now because I haven't been on the internet yet, okay? And I want to see, I don't know what's going on in like the real world here. I just want to check it. Silver alert issued for a Wisconsin man with a cognitive impairment. Body found. Missing pregnant woman. Baby still missing. Baby still missing. That Virginia football coach who's gone. Now they're saying that Anna Kepner fought for her life. Family in turmoil. Investigation continues. That guy, no. Still, that guy, David. They say that their sources say prosecutors have brought that to the LA grand jury, that David with the number 4. Okay, so I just want to check on one other thing here, if there's any kind of arraignment of that. Okay, so I wanted to see if this Austin Lynch So her mother, Emily's mother, was quoted as saying that all she ever wanted to do was to do good in the world, and it all got taken away just like that. I can't stop crying. And that's what Ethan would say. She's a really good person. Horrible. 18-year-old Austin Lynch is now facing second-degree murder. Let's see. When is he going to be arraigned? Okay, Lynch will be arraigned as soon as he has recovered enough from his wounds. When's that going to be? Told you that his dad's Facebook page and I wonder. It's very sad all around. Okay, so let's see what else. I just want to see if there's anything else that's going on, because I'm not going to be able to read much more of that because I feel myself getting sleepy, and I don't. It's 1:44. It's just been a whirlwind of days since like all of this. It's emotional toll, it's physical toll. We've been running around doing stuff. Oh. See what's going on here. Judge frees death row inmate. Winter storm. There's more snow coming in from the Midwest, and it's also coming in, I believe, Tuesday for us. We're supposed to get a break, and then it's going to come again on Tuesday. What is this thing that happened with Campbell's soup? I've heard it over the holiday, but I have not looked it up. That they said it's like poison or something. What did they say? Let me see. Everybody. Let's see. Shoot. Okay, Campbell's Soup executive. Yeah, I didn't see this. I heard about this. A lawsuit filed in Michigan last week alleges that a Campbell's Soup executive made offensive comments about Indian workers and said the company's products were for poor people during a conversation with a former employee. The lawsuit is filed by Robert Garza. He was hired by Campbell's as a cybersecurity analyst in 2024. Garza alleges that Campbell's executive Martin Bally made the offensive remarks during a meeting in November of 2024, which was intended to discuss his salary. According to the lawsuit, Bailey made several comments about Indian workers and said that Campbell's is highly processed food for poor people. Garza said that he informed his manager, J.D. Opperly, about the comments on January 10th, and said that Opperly did not encourage him to report the incident to Human Resources. Garza was then abruptly terminated from his employment just weeks later. A purported recording of the discussion between Garza and Bally captured comments allegedly from Bally that claimed the company's soup uses bioengineered meat and denigrated the abilities of Indian workers. In a November 26 statement, Campbell's said that Bally is no longer employed at the company and added that it believes the recording is legitimate. The comments were vulgar, offensive, and false. And we apologize for the hurt they have caused. Let's see. The behavior does not reflect our values and the culture of the company, and we will not tolerate that kind of language under any circumstances. Campbell's also defended the quality of its products, noting on Wednesday that the chicken in its soups comes from long-trusted USDA U.S. suppliers and meets our high-quality standards, and all of our soups are made with no antibiotics ever. Chicken meat. All claims to the contrary are completely false. A fact sheet published Tuesday on Campbell's website notes that the company does not use 3D printed chicken, lab-grown chicken, or any form of artificial or bioengineered meat in their soups. On Monday, Attorney General of Florida said in a social media post that the state's Consumer Protection Division is investigating the quality of Campbell's products. Garza's lawsuit alleges he suffered stress, humiliation, embarrassment, and mental anguish as a result of Bally and Opperle's actions. He's seeking compensation for emotional, reputational, and economic harm, as well as attorney's fees, according to the comment. Okay. Wow, another young couple ages 17 and 18 die in horrific car crash while traveling for Thanksgiving. And I told you that a friend of mine lost her 18-year-old daughter when a car failed to yield and hit them, and they were both off the road. She was a passenger, and she died at the scene. Terrible. And here's another two. A young couple were killed in a crash while traveling for Thanksgiving. Leo Shepard, 18, and Annika Wilson, 17, died November 29th after they were struck head-on by another vehicle who was allegedly driving the wrong way on Interstate 15. I just heard this. Somebody was driving the wrong way somewhere around here and caused a tremendous crash. And Ethan told me going back to school tonight, there were tremendous crashes all over with the snow and stuff. Let's see. The collision occurred around 3 a.m. when a gray Audi allegedly entered the interstate incorrectly and collided with a black Nissan Rogue. Where was this? Where was this? See what why is it that you can't see something? Okay. Where was it? It's so weird that I can't seem to see where this was. Collision caused the couple's car to become fully engulfed in flames. Interstate 15, but where? Utah. Utah. Terrible. Father and son. What happened there? 9. Shot dead in an apartment. Murder, suicide, his family friend, child meant everything to Dad. Oh my gosh, what is it with these people? Where's this now? In Ohio, on November 29th. Father and son died in what police have described as an apparent murder-suicide. The father, 40, and his son, 9, were found in a Mansfield, Ohio residence the afternoon of November 29th. Girlfriend of the father was also in the home at the time of the incident, but she did not appear to be physically injured. A nearby resident and a friend of the father and son told the outlet I was asking her what happened, what's going on, and she was probably in shock or whatever. She was like, I don't know. She just heard a pop. And she was upstairs is all she kept saying. Wow. Obsessed man asked a tenant to marry him and then killed her mom and 2-month-old daughter. Wow. Man 21 accused of setting house on fire following a Thanksgiving argument with his family. Illinois. It's a blessing no one was killed or injured in this senseless act, said Lake County Sheriff John Eidelberg. Crazy. Crazy. People are crazy. I mean, insane. Woman ended relationship after ex choked her. When her parents tried to help her move out, he shot them. Just nuts. Beauty influencer Stephanie Piper, 31, found dead in forest after ex-boyfriend allegedly admitted to strangling her. Oh my gosh. Oh, that Iowa man beat 4 people to death with a metal pipe, heading to prison. Just crazy. I don't know. Singer De La Rosa was killed in ambush and 3 people are now charged with her murder. So Anna Kepner, and then we have Matt Walsh. Now, let me check on that because that's supposed to start tomorrow. I just have a feeling it's not. It's going to be an Aiden Pucci thing. That's what I think was going to happen. Is it Matt Walsh? Is that what his name is? Why is it doesn't sound like right? Matt Walsh. It's not Matt, is it? Scott? Matt? I thought it was supposed to begin tomorrow. Now it's looking like it's tomorrow. I mean, it's the 2nd. I don't know. No, that's different. That's Maryland. I don't know. When is this? I thought it was tomorrow. Matt Walsh. Is it not Matt Walsh? Hold on a minute. What was her name? Oh, Andy Warhol scam. Husband killed wife. Trial. Brian. It's Brian. Why did I call him Matt? Brian. Brian. Yeah, Brian. So this is Brian. Come on, Brian. Get over there, Brian. Come on, Brian. What is up with this? Oh my goodness. So I don't know. I have a feeling he's going to plea out. I just do. I think that's what's going to happen. Come on, buddy. I want to go into full screen. Okay, don't listen. So let me see something. Yeah, I think that starts tomorrow. So we will watch that. I will be reporting on that. All right, I think we should probably, where are you guys? Matt Walsh is what is a woman? Oh, yikes, people are going nuts. What topic? We're on a bunch of different topics. You know how it runs here, Slam. You never know what you're going to get. It's like a box of chocolates, right? You start with one thing, you go to another thing. You usually end up at the same where we started from, but where we go in between, you never know. Is there an update on the 14-year-old whose mother said she left with a couple she met at the zoo? The 14-year-old whose mother said she left with a couple she left. Did I even? Let me see. Let me check. Super chat. Oh, you're talking about a Melody? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, see if you said the name. Okay. Ashley Buzzard said that she left with a couple that she met at the zoo. She left her daughter with a couple in Utah she met at the zoo. Right? Yeah, okay. Why? Yeah, no, there's been no update. None. None, 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 none. None, 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 none. Nope. Nothing. Nothing, honey. You know what we've been watching on HBO is The Pit. It's about, it has Noah Wiley, but it's like a real life ER. So, yeah. You should check that out. Check it out. Check it out. If you can. Hold on a minute. I need something. Is this what I need? Yes. Why do I need this? I don't know. Why do I need this? It goes right here. Hold on, I gotta fix something here. Never mind. I don't even know what I'm doing here. I do know what I'm doing. There we go, I fixed it. There we go. Okay, I know how to fix it. All right, let me go to the word game. Oh, shoot. What just happened? What was that? That Jen that just dropped off? Yes, okay. You scared me. You scared me, Jen. You're dropping off like that. Okay. You guys can look at that for like 2 seconds and tell me if you can figure out what that word is, okay? I just thought about something I've got to do. See if you can figure out what that is, please. Figure out if you know what that is. Shoot. Why can't I get this? Okay, beautiful. Beautiful, all done, fixed. Hold on, I gotta get something here. So sorry. So sorry. I forgot to fix something. I'm gonna check if you guys can figure out that word, because I'm stuck on that word. And then we'll do the daily, but I need some help with that word. Where's murder? Our murder of crows. I'm very worried. Marianne Frontini, I'm very worried about you. I hope you're okay. Come on, baby. All right, stop. Yes. What do I need? That. And this. Hold on, I have to get. And this. Okay. I fixed it. I need that. Hold on, I forgot to get vitamins for Ethan. Why she was getting her vitamins? Okay, now let me just look at. Oh, brother. Let me right there. I just let. If I don't do this, I'm going to be in trouble because I'm not going to remember, and then I'm going to be in real trouble. So let me just do this, please. And then if you can find that word, then I'll be really happy, and then we'll come back. And I didn't get my, come on. Oh my gosh. Yes, I know this. Thank you. Hang on a second. How much is that dog in the window? Uh-oh. They're discontinuing a protein bar that I like. They always do that stuff. Why? Oh, shoot. They don't have it anymore already. It's already out. Shoot. Yep, it's gone already. No, I don't want the other one. I do not want the other one, so screw it. What do I need? Okay, let me just get. So I don't have that. I'm really upset about that. They always do something like that. It's just dumb. Just get. that. Oh, I know what I need. God, I need my freaking immune thing. Yes, I bought a lot of vitamins. I'm sorry. Okay. All right, let me just get that. Hold on, I'm done now. Sorry about this. Okay, I don't need this. Thank you very much. Okay, very good. I hope you guys got this word here. Please have this word by the time I come back. I'm coming right now. I just have to, it makes me jump through 50 hoops. Okay, good, done. Okay, sorry about that. Back to, where are you guys? Let's see if you got this word. Can't find the live stream. There it is. Did anybody get this? I'm not sure either. I'm not sure they are trying. 20 grams if protein, what? I do use pure protein from Walmart, but you can get it at Amazon too. And I get the chocolate. I do like those, but there's another one that I like. It's like, I thought I tried that, Heart, and I don't think it worked. I thought I did try it. Oh man. I thought I did. It's cocoa? Thank you. I really thought I tried that. Okay, now we have to do the daily. No, we have to do the daily. Home. Daily. I guess so, because they did with Casey Anthony. Not sure why they're taking so long to locate Melody. I don't know. I just feel like all of this crap with these kids that can't be located, other people killing everybody in sight. I don't know. It's very disillusioning. It's just, I don't know, right? Shake it up a little bit. What? Okay, let's see. Oh, no, yeah, no. Very good. Wing. Oh, oh. Uh-huh. I have waning. Awning. Yeah, that's, yeah. Very good. We did it. Well done, it says. We're well done. All right. Look, December 1st. Get out of here. It's ridiculous, isn't it? You're trying to get your shopping done. You're trying to get your shopping done because Pram? What? You're trying to get your shopping done because Pram? I don't know what that means, heart. Zip. Zippity doo doo. Oh, you messed up? Well, that's okay. That's okay. Oh, I think I know something. Wait a minute. Is it Airman? Oh, no. Zanny, the nanny. Zanny, the nanny. Oh, Abuelita's don't forget to pray for Abuelita. She's having that test tomorrow, I think. No, the second, I believe it is. Ram. Okay. Rima. Menu. That's good. Okay. Marzipan? Oh, very good. Let's see. Marzipan, marzipan. Sweeter than. Okay, very good. Now one more. All right, we did it. We did it. We did it. Over door. Ode to Billy Joe McAllister. Odovia and Drovia. Very good. Order. I can't believe it. Roved. Okay. Read. Drover. Hi, Murder of Crows. Where were you? We were sending in a search party for you. Good to see you. You've been okay? Everything okay? I know you said you were going to go to the doctor about that thing. Overdue. Very good. Drover. Did I put drover in there? Yeah, we need 2 4-letter words. Did we put dove? Yeah, dove's in there. Odor. Very good. Uh-oh. Oh my gosh, it won't let me make the word. Okay, and then road and vode and veer. You're doing good? You just didn't want to come see us? What do we put here? What do we put here? Oh no. That's what it is. It's rope. Okay, very good. We did that. I don't think this is a. Oh my gosh, I can't make it. My thing won't go in the right. Row, how? Row, row. Homework. Very good. Oh, goodness. Room. Mm-hmm. Woke. Hue. Oh, goodness. Sorry about that. Getting tired. My stomach is grumbling now, like, come on now, what the heck? What the heck? Her. She. Elvis Costello, I love that song. Okay. I think I'm going to call it a night, guys. I am so freaking tired. I love you guys. God bless. Thank you so much. Happy December. I hope that things are better this month for everyone. Love you guys. Prayers for everyone because everyone needs them, and take care of everybody. See you guys tomorrow. Love you.